Hello and welcome back. I'm Jess and we are in week 2. This is part 4 of our trauma and loss series. Today is all about spirit. So as we go through all of these parts, mind, body, soul, and spirit, we are trying to break ourselves apart in a manner that we can take, one bite at a time each day and not become overwhelmed because, we've been in a traumatic situation and our body has had some changes. Our mind has had a lot of changes. Our spirit is kind of on edge, very emotional, very raw. And spirit comes in, and spirit is where we get our information from outside of ourselves, internalize it, and use those tools, use those resources to heal and transmute energy into something else. So spirit is different than soul, and I've discussed that in previous videos, how I feel about soul, how I feel about spirit, and that's up to you to decide how you feel about it and how you interpret that information. Ultimately, what you believe is what will be, and that's just true. It's the universal law. We find out whether that's accurate or not through trial and error and karma and different types of universal laws that are at play in everything, in every facet. Religion has a version of the universal laws, but basically the same principles apply universally to all. So spirit is not here to demand perfection from you. It's just about alignment, and I want to talk about that today because this week has really been about routines, establishing good routines, establishing some new rituals to help us heal and understand, and establishing what part of our routine is helpful, what parts are not, how can we identify parts of our routine that have triggered us or can trigger us, what do we want to do to change those things. And then on the spiritual aspect, we talked about just how this is an opportunity for inspired action. Is our routine grounded in fear of the future, fear of more trauma, or is it grounded in joy, gratitude, and the experience of being an opportunity to do all new things? When trauma happens and it completely disrupts our routine, often we are left with a complete and total open page of, okay, now what? Some of it feels like it's out of our control, and some of it is just going to take some time. So today with spirit, we're talking about, when this happens, when the routine's disrupted, when things change, when there's transformation of life, which doesn't feel very transformative. It just feels awful or traumatic or sad or depressing or whatever. It is the time when spirit says, let's find our flow. This time, unlike before in your life, when you were a child and maybe you didn't have a lot of the lessons learned, or when you were a young adult and you didn't know these things, this time, let's do it together. God is asking you to participate with the universe, the heavens, others, and in whatever manner you see it, nature, to find your flow now out of this place, through this place, not out of. I don't mean to abandon. I mean through this place of trauma into where it's going to develop, because this is a time of reflection, grieving, feeling, interpreting information. Honestly, it's also a point where you get so stressed or so put out with whatever ideas or old belief systems or things you've lived through that you can finally get to a place of going, you know what, I'm not doing any of this anymore. I want to start over, and I want to figure out what I think. I want to figure out what I believe, and I want to understand how I can live the life I want to live with blessing and with integrity and respect and love and community, instead of trying to force myself back into this box, because now my bubble's been popped. I've been through this trauma. The world is a different place to me now. How I feel about it is different. Let's find our flow. So what it means to be in flow, because this is a universal law of being in flow, okay? The universe is not outside of you. Look inside of yourself. Everything you want, you already are. And this isn't a philosophy or a worldly philosophy that is not repeated everywhere else as well. Even in Scripture, it says, the kingdom of heaven is within you, and it is outside of you. And Yeshua even said, if your eye be single, then your body will be full of light. And he was talking about meditation. He was talking about quieting of the mind. When it says to go into your prayer closet and shut the door, they're talking about this. They're talking about the five senses. The five senses. It was always, he said it 5 different times. Take no thought. Take no thought. Take no thought. Okay. Why? 5 senses. When you are so busy perceiving the 3D, it's hard for you to access the spiritual. This is why people meditate. Not everybody likes meditating, though. Some people find it to be very unnerving. And I don't think we should tell people to fight through that. I think we should figure out what works best. Are you one of those that likes to paint or draw and listen to music, and before you know it, you're in a meditative state? Even doing that, then I would go with it. I would call it my meditation, if that's what you love. If you play music and you get to that place where you're not even looking at you're not looking at anything, you can close your eyes and play it. That's a meditation. There's a lot of people that like walking meditations, where you go for a hike or you go out in the woods, you find a nice rock to sit on and you just be you, being there, feeling nature, and it gets you into a meditative state. You're relaxed, you're calm, you are doing something that you love and enjoy that brings you peace. Trying to force spirituality and meditation into a box of thou must chant this mantra and say these 3 affirmations 6 times and spin around and then do a downward facing dog and light a candle is becoming legalistic. Is starting to become ritualistic in a religious way. If that's what you've decided to do on your own and it's not about anybody else, that's fine. But when we start telling other people this is how you must meditate, we've hit a wall. We've hit a problem. Every single person in this world is completely different and unique, and if anything, we should be inspired by how many ways we can access spirit, how many different ways we can get into that place of being in meditative mind. And it's not thinking mind, it's spirit mind. It's beyond that. It's actually very peaceful and restful in that you're not thinking about necessarily anything. In adjusting this with your routine, in using this opportunity to start a new thing with spirit, or to adjust, or to say, okay, well, what I was doing before, I don't feel like it satisfies me anymore. Everything's changed for me now. I just can't do that now. Okay, so we need to find what it is that we are going to do. And absolutely, this is as important, folks. This is as important to your health and well-being as eating the right foods, working out, getting proper rest. And that is finding some way to incorporate a spiritual practice of some kind, of any kind of your choosing, into your life. Now, my stepfather, who is going through a lot of healing and is still going through ongoing trauma, absolutely, his church is vital to him. It's vital and has been such a blessing. And the way they communicate with each other and the way they share love together, that's where he's happy. That's where his love is. That's where his foundation is. And it doesn't matter if people agree or not. It really doesn't in the end. It just matters in that moment. Is this person doing something that is absolutely healing them, and it's restoring them, and it's giving them hope, and they feel love, and they feel cherished, and they feel seen and nurtured? And if the answer is yes, then whatever version of that is yours is yours. No one can tell you any different, because we all feel deeply about what we believe in, and we feel deeply about what we've experienced that caused us to feel that. You are not going to tell somebody, I don't agree with you, you should change your belief system, because they're going to be like, whoa, I have a very established relationship with this belief system. You can't tell me to just throw it away because you don't like it. And it's just grace. We got to have grace with everybody. It doesn't really matter what they believe and think. That is their process. It's their journey. It's their lessons. We are all here to learn our own lessons. And there's no way that we could possibly force or conjecture meaning onto someone else without it crossing boundaries, whether you believe in scriptural boundaries or universal law boundaries or any other laws. You're crossing that line when you do that. I think almost every faith-based practice will clearly state that thou shalt not enslave, force, or hurt others in the name of anything. So we can kind of agree on that. If you don't, that's okay. Just, I'm just conjecturing. So we want to talk about the law of rhythm. There's an ebb and a flow to everything. When you're young and you're learning and everything's bright and new and shiny, when you're a child, the way we see the world and the way we even remember that is completely different than when we're an adult and we have perspective and we understand things in a different way. Well, grief is the same way. And so that's part of the ebb and the flow. So you get through that stage of shock, the numbness, and then you start moving into accepting and feeling and understanding what's happened, and getting triggered more often through conversation. When people show affection, especially when people ask how you're doing, oh boy, isn't that a moment that immediately, boom, you're in it. And it can be somebody at the gas station or in line at Walmart, but here we are. But we're people and we need each other for that. We need that compassion. We need that. So when you're moving through the law of rhythm and there's this ebb and flow, and it's part of it is grief and sadness and loss, whether it's loss of self-identity or loss of someone else, loss of our own personal safety, lots of different losses with trauma. We're going to go through that. A few days will be okay, and then we won't be, and then we will be, and then we won't be, and it will be, for us, confusing because we don't see a pattern. And perhaps if we, are really diligent about journaling and writing down what's happening, you might actually start to see the pattern. What happened that day, what occurred, what things were going on that caused X, Y, and Z to happen, right? So being in flow means accepting that there's going to be this ebb and flow. And it's not about perfection. It's about experiencing everything. And then we're going to have a law of cause and effect come in. And what we suppress is going to find a way out. So in a traumatic experience, there's only so much that we can work through in any given moment. It's like why we're doing this piece by piece through the weeks. I can't hit you with everything at once. That's not fair. We don't process information that way. And it'll stress you out. But again, using the tools we discussed, the journaling, learning something new, acquiring a new ritual, taking time for your routine, trying to minimize the chaos and try to figure out what you really want right now, and following that intuitive nudge to, go out with your friends tonight. Yeah, go have dinner. Go have dinner. Yeah. You don't have to stay the whole time if you don't want to. That they understand and they love you. Just go have dinner. Go for that hike. When we start to do that, we are finding outlets. We are finding the outlets. And instead of suppressing ourselves from feeling and experiencing, allow that energy to move, we're finding the outlets. We're allowing that energy to be processed in different ways. We're watching that movie, eating ice cream and crying into our bucket of ice cream. we are going out with friends and talking, having a girls' night, or the guys go fishing, have a barbecue, whatever floats your boat, whatever the thing is where you can have an outlet, where you can express how you're feeling, express what's going on, you are going to mitigate the likelihood that you will have a crash. It's really good to have self-care and self-love. It's vital. And we still may crash out a little bit, but there's a lot to process. So you have time. So when you see the law of cause and effect, don't suppress it or it'll seek an outlet. Well, that's not saying it has to be done immediately. You've got time to deal with this and focus on one thing at a time when you can handle it, and just seek out those who have good ears to listen and big hearts to be compassionate with, Now, when you're living in flow, you're choosing rhythm over rigidity. And we talked about in my other video, one of the side effects, I think, of trauma for certain people, depending on who you are, which side of the coin you're on. It's either the routine has completely been trashed by the trauma, and I'm going to rigidly and firmly try to gain it back exactly the way it was, or as close as possible, right? And that's trying to hold on to something that feels comfortable, safe, and normal. Just get me back to that place before this happened. On the flip side, you've got people that are like, I don't want anything to be the same at all. Nope. Everything reminds me I would like to change all of it. So it can depend on which side you're on. Either way, you can be rigidly opposed to anything that's familiar from your past, or you can be rigidly opposed to anything new. So let's cut out the rigidity. And you're doing this because at your core, who you are, deep down inside, your inner child self, your higher vibrational self, even your shadow aspects, all these parts of you would really love it if you would honor your own truth. And Spirit honors truth, and it honors your honesty about each situation. So instead of abandoning yourself, if something comes along that kind of disrupts your routine, let it marinate. Think about it. Give your best answer at that time. You're not stuck with any one decision permanently. So there's always room for change. There's always room for change. And going with the flow and not being so rigid allows you to kind of just take each day as it comes. You know what? It's okay. I don't have to do that today. I'd actually kind of rather do this instead. Because, I've missed going and visiting this park. I've not been there enough in a long time. Things like that. You find your flow and you find your rhythm, and don't be too rigid. Don't be too rigid, because then you're in a cage. You can feel it. Shoulders here. Oh, cage. Don't do the cage. And this is a bit harder for people to want to accept or hear. But there's a level of acceptance and embracing that what's happened has happened. It's done. It's happened. Change is here. It's happened. And as difficult as that is, and it can also feel unfair, everything is happening for you, not at you or towards you. And when we can't see the light at the end of the tunnel yet, when we cannot see the end result or the outcome, it doesn't mean there isn't one. And I think, for myself, through what I've been through, multiple different events and things, it's always later when you think back and say, okay, if it had happened differently, what would that mean now? What would my life be like now? What would have changed? And you can start building that picture and see where it is for you And it is to help guide you and teach you something. And I know this is hard for people. I know it's really hard because it feels mean and cruel and wrong. And there are seasons we all go through where we get mad, and we get mad at God. But we get mad at that energy, at that place of, why did you put me here just to put me through this? I don't understand. Do you hate me? Did I do something wrong? What? And it's okay. I want you to be really honest in those moments and go through that time if it comes up. Just be honest. If it was your best friend, if you believe in a creator, if you believe in source, if you believe in whatever you believe in, and you're here for a reason, then even when you're mad, it's like talking to your best friend. They are going to look at you and say, I get it. I'm sorry. I know it's really hard. And I can't exactly give you all the answers right now, but I can tell you that it was what had to happen, or it was the way things were going to go, or it is what it is. I mean, there is a level of acceptance that we have to get to where we are not angry that it happened, because the truth is it happens to us all. And none is spared. And there has to be a higher, deeper meaning and purpose to it. It's not just to make us miserable, and it's not to be cruel. It is to help us gain a perspective and the ability to walk through this will make you stronger, wiser, more compassionate, more loving, more understanding of others and yourself. And that's a big one, understanding yourself. Finding that flow is finding you. It's finding your flow, your river, your stream, and accepting that it was always your river and your stream you were in. And you can just float. Just let go. Just let go and float. Don't resist. So I want to encourage you today. If you want to do some research, or I encourage you to find a video on YouTube of a guided meditation, or your favorite music, or an activity that you can do and enjoy without, and that activity you love to do, that you can just like tune out while you're doing it because you do it so well. Whether that's fishing, or working with wood, or painting, or music, or pottery, or anything that gets you into that meditative state. Find your happy meditative state place, because I know that even when we're grieving, even when we're angry, we want to give God the silent treatment, or we feel like he's giving it to us, or however you see that. It's always there. There's always the connection, and I hope you find it, find yours, and grab onto it and hold on to it and say, you know what, this is probably one of the most important relationships I need to work on right now. You and me. Let's do this. Okay? So I'm Jess. Please go to manifestheal.com. Check out any of the materials I have on this. I will have week 2 homework sheets for those who are in doing the homeworks and all that stuff. Nobody has to. They're not supposed to be stressful. We'll have the worksheets done hopefully by the weekend and posted. The link will be in the comments. Week 1 is already available on the website, manifestheal.com. We have grounding jewelry, EMF blocking jewelry, and different things that will help you with meditation, grounding, your energy, and healing. But I really encourage you to find some time for yourself this week and start a new meditation ritual or reestablish one. Feel it out, go with the flow, and be free, okay? So thank you so much for being here, and I will catch you on the next one, all right?